Still, the townsfolk were more than a little surprised when they awoke one morning less than a month till high season to another kind of plague. "Frogs!" thundered the village mayor to the hastily convened council. His fleshy jowls trembled with the word. He held one of the offending green invaders by a leg and waved it above his head. "They are everywhere," complained a thin-faced man who was the mayor's chief rival. He shuddered with distaste. "In the bathtub," said one councillor. "And the buttery," said another. "Under the beds," said a third. "And doing the breaststroke in the toilet bowl," thundered the mayor. He was popular for saying things plainly, and because of it had been elected 7 years in a row, a village record. "These frogs will ruin business, and we have just been named Attraction of the Year by the National Board of Tourism." They all knew that this was an important citation. It meant that booklets about the village would be in every guide and information shop in the country free of charge. It meant they could expect an increase in visitors of almost 300% in the upcoming year. "We must do something to rid ourselves of this green invasion," the mayor concluded. The council wrestled for about an hour with the problem, while green peepers, leopard frogs, and bullfrogs hopped about their feet. At last the mayor thundered, "This is a plague of biblical proportions." "In proportion to what?" asked the thin man. That started them on one of their epic arguments. No one expected to get out of the council chambers until noon. But just then a very large and hairy frog climbed onto the council table. Its eyes bulged in a horrible manner, as if any minute they were going to fall right out of its head. "Trichobatricus robustus," the thin man said, shuddering again as he did so. "From West Africa. I, at least, have been doing my homework." The big frog stared right at the mayor, who in a sudden panic hastily adjourned the meeting until the early afternoon. Gratefully, the councillors all fled the room, leaving the frogs in charge. In the center of the village, the full extent of the green plague could now be seen. What had been a trickle of family urbanity at breakfast had by lunch become a tidal wave. Put simply, there were frogs everywhere. Some were small green blobs and some were enormous 10-inch round boulders. They seemed to stretch from the foot of Grossmutter to the foot of Harlingberg, the two mountains that made up the sides of the village's valley. The children were the only ones who were enjoying the spectacle. They had abandoned their own games of tag and hide-and-seek to start frog racing and frog-jumping contests with the more agreeable frogs. But as frogs continued to flood into the town, even the children lost interest. A frog or 2 or 7 in the street is one thing, but a frog floating languidly in your milk glass or curled up on your pillow or draped across your toothbrush is another. By evening, the frogs outnumbered the citizens by 1,000-fold, and still the green plague continued. "We need a piper," the mayor whispered. A day of thundering had reduced his vocal cords to single notes. The councillors had to strain to hear him in a room now crowded with frogs who were peeping and thrumming and harumphing with spring pleasure. At that point, everyone on the council, and the mayor himself, trooped down to the village gift shop and tried tootling on the plastic piccolos. They hoped, one and all, that the legend might actually have some base in reality. But tootle as they might, it was soon quite clear that there was not a real piper among them. A second day of frogs went by, and the roadways were thronged with green. Beds were slimed, kitchen floors uncrossable. The schoolyard was a mass of undulating froggery. The locals began to pack up and move, slowly because the one highway into the village was covered with both frogs and persons from the media trying to get in. The news organizations, at least, were delighted with the green plague. "Maybe that will get us a piper," the mayor said to the council after one particularly grueling interview with CNN. And even the thin man had to agree. And then down the side of Harlingberg Mountain, which being quite steep was relatively frogless, came a drummer. He was a tall, skinny, scruffy man with legs like a stork's. His clothes resembled a personal rummage sale. A green jacket that had once had some sort of emblem on the sleeve, dark pants that were neither black nor blue but somewhere in between, and a white shirt that had certainly seen better days and probably a better night or two, for it was the tattered remnant of a fancy dress outfit. The drummer had been only partially successful in tucking his shirt tails into the pants, and one side hung down, obscuring the right.